Hello students, I hope you are doing well. I'm Surbi Arora, your IELTS trainer. Today we are going to discuss the speaking part 2. In the previous videos, I have given a detailed description for what speaking is all about, the types of questions and the parameters on which you will be evaluated. In this video, we'll talk about speaking part 2. We will look out few questions and how to answer those questions. So without any further delay, let's get started. So before we get into the types of questions, let's have an overview first. This is an individual long turn or a cue card round, and the round goes for 3 to 4 minutes. Here, the examiner gives the candidate a task card with the topic and questions. Candidate has 1 minute to prepare and make notes. Similarly, candidate speaks for 2 minutes answering the questions, and then there is the next round, follow-up round, which would be discovered in the next video. Now, there are some common types of questions that are asked in the cue card round. So these are description questions, which is describing a person, a place, or an object. For example, the question can come like describing your childhood friend, describing your favorite teacher, or describing a favorite place. So this is a description question. Next, we have a narration question in which you have to narrate. For example, telling a story, describing an experience. And then we have explanation question where you need to explain a process, idea, or concept. And then we have opinion or justification question where you give your opinion and justify a decision. So now let's see some topics that comes for these particular questions. So these are some common questions, some common topics that come in your IELTS speaking part 2. This is education, work and job, travel, environment, culture, technology, personal experience, and interest. Now we will look out the sample questions for each of these topics. We have some sample questions for the education. The question can come like describing a school project you have worked on, or describe the difficult skill you learn at school. Tell me a teacher who inspired you. Explain the benefits of learning a foreign language. So you can recognize the categories. That first two questions are descriptive question, and then explanatory question, narrating question, right? So now how to answer the question. This is an important thing for which you all be waiting for. So in the cue card, this is very important that you understand the question very well. You understand the keyword of the question. If I talk about the first question, this is about a school project, right? So here you have to frame the bullet points. Now the cue card works on bullet points, right? It's not like that you have to say for the sake of speaking and just to fill the timing for 2 minutes. No, whatever you speak, it is relevant to the question and the whole answer should be framed in a story. So let's understand that how we need to answer for this cue card question. Now there is a very important technique which I am going to tell to help you in your cue card. You have to frame the bullet points in that 1 minute. And these are nothing but all the WHO words, right? For example, what, where, what, when, where, how, why. These are the bullet points that you will use in your answer. What, where, when, yeah. So in that 1 minute, you will work on these bullet points. Now, if I talk about the sequence, definitely that depends on the requirement of question. If I take the first question from here, that is describing a school project you enjoyed working on. So definitely you will not talk about where did you do the project, and you will not talk about when did you do the project or how did you do the project. It will come later. First, you will talk about which school project you did. Okay, we can also add which here, right? Which school project you did. Okay, when did you do this? Let's suppose if you were in 10th class or 12th class or 8th class, whatever the class you were in. So which, when, and if you're explaining which project you did, so definitely you can talk about it if it was a science project, mathematical project, social science project, anything. It can be anything. Okay, and then what that project was all about. Now here you give a detailed description for that project, what you did, right? If you made something, if you explained something, with whom did you complete this project? So that's what you can describe about the school project. Now the last point which we will discuss, that why did you enjoy working this project? Because this is what the question. So try to pick up the adjectives from the question. Okay, if it is a, let's suppose second question, difficult skill. So the question is not about a skill, it is about a difficult skill. Okay, so you need to understand your question very well first and take out the correct keyword, understand the tone of the question, work on these bullet points and frame the overall sequence for the answer, and then you're good to go to give the answer. Okay, now let's come to the next slide. Now let's discuss the next topic, that is travel. Here also you can see the questions come from the categories like descriptive, narration, explanatory. You can see the questions. Describe a memorable trip you took with your friends. Explain the advantages of traveling alone. Describe the famous place you have visited, or any village you have visited so far, or any place you would like to visit in the future. You can see the questions are very familiar, right? It's not something debate or speech you have to give. It's all very familiar questions. Let's suppose even if you have not experienced anything, you can make up a story, right? So for that, you need to understand the keyword. Let's suppose if it is the question, describe any village you have visited so far. And if you believe that you have not visited any village in your life, so you can just imagine a village. How does it look like? Correct. So before you imagine, first of all, it's very important that you take the keyword. So keyword is village. And now you frame the sequence of the bullet points, like what, when, where, how, why. These are the bullet points. So here you can take which village have you visited, and when did you visit it, with whom did you visit, how this village looks like, and how did you feel after visiting this village. So overall, you have to describe a village. Now, if you have not been to any village, you can imagine that a village looks like so serene and calm, and it has greenery, it is peaceful, how the people of village looks like, the culture of village, right? If you have heard about a village, so these are the points or the words you can include your answer. Remember, vocabulary is very important, that you understand the keyword and you take a good choice of word in your answer, right? Now the next category we have, it is so let's go to the next slide to see the different question.